Chef Jean-Pierre Rousseau had spent 28 years perfecting his craft in Paris, trained at Le Cordon Bleu, apprenticed under 3 Michelin-starred masters, earned his own 2 Michelin stars at Restaurant Rousseau in the 6th arrondissement. His restaurant was a temple of French haute cuisine, where wealthy patrons paid €400 per person for tasting menus that showcased classical French technique, executed with surgical precision. When his longtime sous chef retired, Jean-Pierre reluctantly agreed to interview candidates his manager recommended. One application caught his attention not favorably. Carlo Mendoza, Filipino, trained at culinary school in Manila, worked in hotel kitchens across Southeast Asia, recently arrived in Paris. Jean-Pierre sighed. He needed a sous chef who understood French cuisine at the highest level, not a hotel cook from Asia, but his manager insisted. Chef Carlo has excellent references. The executive chef at Shangri-La Manila says he's extraordinarily talented. Just interview him. Carlo arrived for the interview in crisp chef's whites, portfolio in hand. He was respectful, spoke decent French, and showed genuine passion when discussing food. But when Jean-Pierre asked about his experience with classical French cuisine, Carlo admitted honestly, "Chef, I've studied French technique, but most of my professional experience is in hotels and resorts in Asia. I understand if that's not what you're looking for." Jean-Pierre appreciated the honesty, but doubted Carlo's suitability. Still, he was desperate for help. "I'll give you a trial position, not sous chef lean cook, Garde manger station. We'll see if you can meet our standards." It was somewhat insulting. Carlo had been sous chef at major hotels, but he needed the opportunity. "Thank you, chef. I won't disappoint you." Carlo's first week was humbling. Jean-Pierre ran his kitchen with military discipline. Every garnish had to be placed with tweezers in exactly the right position. Every sauce had to be the precise consistency. Every plate had to match Jean-Pierre's exacting vision perfectly. Carlo worked the cold station, preparing salads, appetizers, and Garde manger items under the scrutiny of the chef de partie, who corrected his every mistake. Non. The chef de partie would snap. "The microgreens go at 11 o'clock position, not 12 o'clock. This is Michelin kitchen, not hotel buffet." Carlo would nod, fix it, and try again. Jean-Pierre would occasionally walk past Carlo's station, glance at his work, and shake his head slightly before moving on. The message was clear: Carlo was below their standards. What frustrated Carlo wasn't the high standards, he respected precision and excellence. What bothered him was that Jean-Pierre dismissed him as just a hotel cook without giving him a real chance to show his capabilities. When Carlo suggested a slight modification to a vinaigrette to better complement the seasonal vegetables, the chef de partie cut him off. "We don't need suggestions from the Garde manger station. Follow Chef Rousseau's recipes exactly." Months passed. Carlo remained at Garde manger, performing competently but never given opportunities to contribute creatively or advance. Other line cooks who'd started after him were promoted to more prestigious stations. Carlo knew Jean-Pierre saw him as a Filipino hotel cook who lacked the pedigree for serious French cuisine. Then came the announcement that sent shockwaves through the kitchen. Michelin inspectors were coming. Not for routine inspection. Restaurant Rousseau was being evaluated for potential 3rd star, the ultimate achievement in culinary world. Only a handful of restaurants in Paris held 3 stars. Jean-Pierre had been pursuing this for a decade. The kitchen went into overdrive. Jean-Pierre planned an ambitious new tasting menu, showcasing his most sophisticated techniques. Every dish was rehearsed obsessively, every component perfected. The inspection was scheduled for Saturday evening, the night that would determine Jean-Pierre's legacy. 4 days before the inspection, disaster struck. Jean-Pierre's sous chef, the talented young chef who'd replaced the retired one, was in a serious motorcycle accident. Broken leg, broken arm, hospitalized. He'd be out for months. Jean-Pierre was devastated. The sous chef was critical to executing the complex tasting menu. He ran the hotline, coordinated timing between stations, and executed 3 of the most technically challenging dishes personally. Jean-Pierre called an emergency kitchen meeting. "We continue with the inspection as planned. I'll work the hotline myself and coordinate timing. Chef de partie from Fish Station will step up to assist." But privately, Jean-Pierre was panicking. He was an exceptional chef, but he couldn't simultaneously run the pass, coordinate 8 stations, and personally execute the most complex dishes. He needed help. His manager made a suggestion he didn't want to hear. "Chef Carlo has sous chef experience from his hotel work. He could assist." "Absolutely not," Jean-Pierre interrupted. This is Michelin 3-star evaluation. I need someone who understands haute cuisine at the highest level, not a Garde manger cook from hotel kitchens. But as Saturday approached, Jean-Pierre had no choice. Every experienced sous chef in Paris was already employed. The fish station chef de partie was skilled, but had never run hotline coordination. 2 days before inspection, Jean-Pierre called Carlo into his office. "Carlo, I need you to step up to temporary sous chef role for Saturday's service. You'll assist me on hotline, help coordinate timing, and execute 2 dishes from the tasting menu, the duck preparation and the beef course. Can you handle this?" Carlo knew this was Jean-Pierre's desperation, not respect, but it was still an opportunity. "Yes, chef. I'll study the recipes tonight and practice tomorrow." Jean-Pierre handed him detailed recipe specifications for both dishes. These must be executed exactly as written. Precise temperatures, exact timing, perfect plating. No improvisation, no creativity, just flawless execution of my vision. "Understood." "Understood, chef." Carlo spent that night studying the recipes with intense focus. The duck dish was complex. Duck breast cooked sous vide to precise temperature, then seared, served with duck leg confit, foie gras, torchon, cherry gastric, and 5 precisely arranged garnishes. The beef course was equally intricate: dried beef tenderloin with Bordelaise sauce, bone marrow, 3 types of prepared vegetables, and microgreens positioned with architectural precision. The next day, Carlo practiced both dishes obsessively. He executed them again and again until his timing was perfect. His plating matched Jean-Pierre's specifications exactly, and every component met the chef's standards. Jean-Pierre watched critically, correcting minor imperfections, but grudgingly admitted Carlo could execute the dishes adequately. Saturday arrived. The kitchen was tense with pressure. Michelin inspectors would arrive anonymously. There could be any reservation that evening. Every table had to receive perfect food, perfect service, as if every diner were the inspector. Jean-Pierre assembled his team. "Tonight, we achieve 3 stars. Every dish must be flawless. Everyone performs at their absolute highest level. Comprise, oui, chef." The kitchen responded in unison. Service began at 7 p.m. The dining room filled with elegantly dressed guests. Jean-Pierre worked the pass, calling orders, coordinating timing across 8 stations. Carlo worked beside him on hotline, managing the duck and beef courses, along with helping coordinate timing for other stations. The first hour went smoothly. Dishes left the kitchen with precision timing and perfect execution. At 8:30 p.m., the first major problem occurred. The fish station chef, de partie ready, stressed from stepping up to assist sous chef duties, made a critical error. He overcooked a John Dory entrée for table 6. Jean-Pierre caught it at the pass, furious. "This is overcooked. Table 6 has been waiting 18 minutes already. We cannot make them wait for a fire. Where is the backup portion?" The fish chef checked his mise en place. He'd run out of backup portions during the rush. "Chef, I need 8 minutes to prepare another." 8 minutes is unacceptable. Table 6 will be waiting 26 minutes total. Jean-Pierre was spiraling into panic. This could be the Michelin inspector's table. One major timing failure could cost them the 3rd star. Carlo stepped in. "Chef, I can prepare a substitute fish course using the turbot we have for tomorrow's prep. Different fish, but I can execute it in the style of the menu. 6 minutes, and it will be perfect." Jean-Pierre turned on him angrily. "We don't serve dishes that aren't on the planned menu. This is Michelin evaluation, not improvisation time." Carlo kept his voice calm but firm. "Chef, we have 2 options. Make table 6 wait 26 minutes total for their entrée, which is service failure for Michelin standards. Or I prepare a beautiful turbot course in 6 minutes that matches the quality and style of the menu. If table 6 is the inspector, the delay will cost us the star. A perfectly executed substitution won't." Jean-Pierre hesitated, his rigid control warring with Carlo's logic. Finally he snapped. "Fine. 6 minutes. It must be flawless." Carlo moved with focused intensity. He portioned the turbot, seasoned it perfectly, began cooking it with precise temperature control. While it cooked, he prepared an accompanying sauce, using technique from the menu's style, but adapted for turbot. He selected garnishes that complemented the fish and matched the menu's aesthetic. 5.5 minutes later, he plated a stunning turbot course and presented it to Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre examined it critically. The fish was cooked perfectly, just opaque, moist, flaking delicately. The sauce was refined and properly emulsified. The plating was elegant and matched the restaurant's style. It wasn't the planned menu, but it was absolutely 3-star quality. Send it. Table 6 received their fish course 20 minutes after ordering. Not ideal, but acceptable. Crisis managed, but the pressure was relentless. Over the next 90 minutes, the kitchen executed 140 courses across 18 tables. Carlo worked with calm efficiency, executing his duck and beef dishes flawlessly, while helping coordinate timing when Jean-Pierre became overwhelmed, managing multiple stations simultaneously. At 10:15 p.m., the second crisis hit. Jean-Pierre was plating a complex dessert when he noticed the cherry gastric for Carlo's duck course was running low. "Carlo, how many duck orders left?" "For orders, chef." Jean-Pierre checked the gastric container, barely enough for 2 portions. "We need more gastric." Who was responsible for mise en place on this? The sauce cook who'd prepared it had made the standard quantity, but they'd had more duck orders than usual. "Chef, I can prepare more, but it needs 30 minutes to reduce properly." Jean-Pierre slammed his hand on the pass. "We have duck orders firing in 8 minutes. We can't serve duck without the gastric. It's the central flavor component." The kitchen fell silent. Everyone knew this was potentially catastrophic. If they delayed duck orders or served them incomplete, and it was the inspector's table, the 3rd star was lost. Carlo spoke quietly. "Chef, I know a technique from my hotel work: quick gastric reduction using controlled high heat and an emulsifier to achieve proper consistency in 6 minutes instead of 30. It's not traditional French technique, but the result is identical in flavor and texture. I can make enough for the remaining orders." Jean-Pierre turned to him, incredulous. "Hotel technique, in my Michelin kitchen?" "Absolutely." He stopped himself. He was out of options. "Can you guarantee it will taste identical to the traditional preparation?" "Yes, chef. I've done it hundreds of times. Same flavor, same consistency. Guests cannot tell the difference." Jean-Pierre made the hardest decision of the night. "Do it. You have 6 minutes." Carlo worked with practiced efficiency, using the rapid reduction technique he'd learned in high-volume hotel kitchens where you couldn't always wait 30 minutes for a sauce. He applied controlled high heat, used proper emulsification, and carefully monitored the reduction. Jean-Pierre watched skeptically. This wasn't how he'd been trained at Le Cordon Bleu. This was improvisation. Adaptation, things he'd spent his career avoiding in pursuit of classical perfection. 6 minutes later, Carlo presented the gastric. Jean-Pierre tasted it critically. He closed his eyes, analyzing the flavor profile. It was perfect, identical to his traditional preparation. The flavor complexity, the balance of tart and sweet, the proper consistency, everything was exactly right. Just achieved through a technique Jean-Pierre had never learned because his classical training dismissed rapid methods as inferior. "It's acceptable." Finish the duck orders. The final 2 hours of service proceeded with intense focus. Carlo executed every duck and beef course flawlessly. Jean-Pierre coordinated the kitchen with renewed confidence. When the last table finished dessert at 11:45 p.m., the kitchen staff stood exhausted but hopeful. They'd executed nearly flawless service under extraordinary pressure. 3 weeks later, the Michelin announcement came. Restaurant Rousseau had been awarded its 3rd star. Jean-Pierre's dream achieved. The kitchen celebrated with champagne, but Jean-Pierre asked Carlo to stay after the others left. "Carlo, I need to tell you something. The night of the inspection, table 6, the turbot substitution you created, and table 14, the last duck course using your rapid gastric technique, those were both Michelin inspectors. They disclosed this to me when delivering the 3rd star." Carlo's eyes widened. The 2 dishes Jean-Pierre had been most reluctant to allow improvised solutions, using hotel techniques, had been served to the inspectors themselves. Jean-Pierre continued, "The Michelin director told me they were particularly impressed by the turbot course. It wasn't on the published menu, which suggested our kitchen could adapt and create at high level spontaneously. And they praised the cherry gastric as having exceptional depth of flavor. They assumed these represented my personal technique and creativity." He paused. "They were your technique and creativity. You saved our 3rd star twice that night, using methods I'd dismissed as inferior because they didn't come from classical French training." He looked at Carlo directly. "I've treated you as just a hotel cook for months. I kept you at Garde manger station because I didn't believe Filipino chef from Asia could understand French haute cuisine at the level my kitchen required. But that night, under extreme pressure, you demonstrated techniques and capabilities I don't possess. Your rapid gastric method is more efficient than my classical approach, and the result is indistinguishable. Your ability to create a substitution dish in 6 minutes that met Michelin 3-star standards showed creativity and skill I couldn't have executed. Jean-Pierre extended his hand. I'm offering you permanent sous chef position, not because I'm desperate, but because you've earned it. You understand haute cuisine deeply just through different training paths than I walked. My classical French approach is valuable, but it's not the only path to excellence. Your hotel experience taught you adaptability, efficiency, and improvisation under pressure that my rigid classical training never developed. Those skills saved my 3rd star. Carlo shook his hand, appreciation mixed with vindication. Thank you, chef. I know my background is different from traditional French chefs, but I love this craft, and I've always believed that technique and excellence can come from many traditions, not just classical European training. Jean-Pierre nodded. You taught me something important about cuisine that 28 years in French kitchens didn't. That innovation often comes from chefs who've worked outside traditional fine dining systems. Your hotel work, your Filipino background, your different training paths aren't limitations. They're assets that bring perspectives and techniques I'd never encounter if I only hired chefs who trained exactly as I did. Over the following year, Carlo transformed Jean-Pierre's kitchen. As sous chef, he introduced efficiency techniques that reduced prep time without compromising quality. He suggested occasional menu items, incorporating Asian ingredients or techniques alongside classical French preparations, fusions that intrigued guests and earned critical praise. Jean-Pierre, initially resistant, learned to appreciate these innovations. 2 years later, Carlo opened his own restaurant in Paressa, more casual establishment, blending French technique with Filipino influences. Jean-Pierre attended the opening, publicly endorsing his former sous chef. Carlo Mendoza taught me that the future of French cuisine isn't purely classical, it's classical technique, enhanced by global perspectives and diverse culinary traditions. He made my kitchen better, my food more innovative, and my thinking less rigid. Today, Carlo's restaurant holds 1 Michelin star and rising. Jean-Pierre still runs Restaurant Rousseau with its 3 stars, but he's changed how he evaluates candidates. He actively recruits chefs from diverse backgrounds, recognizing that hotel cook from Asia might possess techniques and perspectives that strengthen classical French cuisine rather than dilute it. And Jean-Pierre keeps a photo in his office from the night they earned the 3rd star. Carlo plating the turbot substitution under intense pressure, creating spontaneously what Jean-Pierre's rigid classical training couldn't have produced in time. Under the photo, a note: the line cook I dismissed as inferior saved my 3rd Michelin star twice in one night, using techniques I'd never learned because I was too busy protecting classical tradition to recognize that excellence evolves. Carlo taught me that the best cuisine respects tradition while embracing innovation from unexpected sources, and that sometimes the most sophisticated cooking comes not from chefs who followed the traditional French path, but from those who brought different perspectives and had the courage to apply them even when classical chefs said their methods weren't good enough. The Michelin chef who called Carlo just a line cook learned that some of the finest culinary innovation comes not from rigid adherence to classical French technique, but from chefs who've worked in different systems, learned different methods, and have the creativity to adapt under pressure. And a Filipino chef's hotel techniques proved that when Michelin inspectors are watching and there's no time for 30-minute reductions, what matters isn't whether your training was classical European, but whether you can create 3-star quality food using whatever techniques work, executed with skill that even the most rigid French chef has to respect when he tastes the results.